All right, just to confirm for the listeners, who I have on the phone right now, it is the one and only Allie Banks. Am I right in saying that?
You are correct. Hi, everyone.
Hello. And as I was just discussing with Allie, this is a bit of change in direction for myself. Many people who've been watching the podcast in the past know it for music. And this time we're doing a comedy and acting show. So we're going to be learning a lot about Allie as a comedian and an actor, I believe. But first, we're going to talk to her a bit about her as a person. So, if that's okay, Allie, I'm going to ask you a couple personal questions.
Let's do it.
All right, let me ask you, what was your favorite childhood cartoon?
Jeez, my chat. This is an unexpected question. I was so ready to answer like comedy related stuff. To be honest with you, I didn't really watch cartoons as a kid. I mostly watched the Weather Network and Discovery Channel.
Okay, well, no, and that's fair. To be honest, you see a lot of funnier things in the Discovery Channel sometimes than you do.
And you see even more funnier things on the Weather Network if you watch it enough, which I did.
You know what I've always loved about the Weather Network is it's 24 hours.
It is 24 hours. It's never had like a break.
No, and it's like you turn it on at like 3 in the morning and it's like, what's going on in Tokyo right now? Like, who wakes up at 3 in the morning and is like, hey man, what's going on in Tokyo right now? Let's check the weather.
That's crazy. And also the fact that they're doing everything in front of a green screen. Like, I really didn't realize that as a kid. Like, you have to know where everything is, even though you can't see it.
And you have to dress appropriately or else you're going to look like a fool.
Yeah, don't wear green in front of the green screen.
That's just it, eh? Okay, let me ask you something then. Were you a music person growing up?
You know what's actually super funny? So my mom was... She first influenced me with music. So the only music she played, very specifically, was Britney Spears, the Bare Naked Ladies, and Andrea Bocelli. So she played pop and opera, and I, for a really long time, thought those were the only two genres of music until I went into high school. And then I also discovered, when I discovered the Spice Girls, my mind was fucking blown. But yeah, no, ever since I knew there was different genres of music, you haven't been able to stop me. I listen to music constantly.
Well, and you know what? Someone that stands out to me that kind of consolidates those sounds is Queen, with the opera and pop kind of. Do you get what I mean, or do I sound foolish saying that?
No, I understand. But I mean, genres aren't that different, Well, you've had musicians on here before. I'm sure they talked about this sort of thing. Like, everything kind of comes from something. Like, country and rap seem like they're different. They're really not. Opera and pop, different, but also not. I love all music.
Well, and honestly, as a dork a bit, they all are deduced down to the same mathematic phonetics, if you will. Like, the rudiments of music is all mathematics, and all those music use the same time signatures or structures, if you will.
That's a little too techie for a comedian, but I'm going to go ahead and say I agree.
Yeah, don't hold her accountable. If anybody disagrees, that's on me, okay? All right, let me ask you some questions about you as an artist. What was your first experience, I guess, with comedy that made you want to get into what you're doing right now?
This is a question I get a lot, actually, and it's not a question or an answer people generally like. Well, they like it. They just don't believe it's real. The first time I went to a comedy show, I was in some little dive bar. My friends made me go. There was a comedian on stage, and I don't remember his name, but he had cue cards, and he was just riffing off these one-liners. And then for his last joke, he said he needed a volunteer. Of course, I didn't know anything about comedy shows. Sat in the front row. I raised my hand. So he brought me up on stage, and he asked me my name, and I said it was Allie Banks. And then he looked at me, he looked at the audience, took the microphone, and said, "Your next comedian, folks, Allie Banks." And the joke was my face, because, of course, I wasn't a comedian then. I'd never thought about comedy my whole life. This is the first time I've ever seen comedy in any form, whether it was live or on, YouTube or whatever. And then so I sat back down with my friends, so embarrassed. And my friends were like, "Why didn't you tell a joke? That was a perfect opportunity." And I just kind of thought about it. I was like, you know what? I've never had to tell a joke my whole life. I never thought I would tell a joke. And so I decided to become a comedian just in case that exact scenario ever happened again.
That's interesting to me. It's like a person learning to swim because someone pushed them in the water once.
I mean, it makes sense. Wouldn't you want to know how to swim if that happens again?
Definitely. And it's almost I don't know, like a serendipitous blessing. It's like amazing that the person put you in that position to pursue something that's become so much of your life now, right?
I never anticipated that. When I was a kid, I wasn't like, I'm going to be a comedian. Like, I was just like, I wanted to be a frog or a cat more than anything, but I was young. I was like 15. Anyways, but yeah, no, it was absolutely a blessing. Like, I never thought that I would get into it. I fell into it, and I didn't realize how much I would love it. I didn't love it at first. It was tough at first because nobody's funny when they first start doing comedy. I don't care who you are. You suck at one point or another. And then I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And then I just kept doing it until I didn't hate it and I loved it. And now I can't imagine doing anything else.
Okay, I gotta ask. So this was when you were 15. Have you had the chance to speak to that person since that did that to you?
Well, actually, I wasn't 15 when that happened. I was probably maybe 19 or 18. I was younger. The 15 was me making a joke before. But no, I never had a chance to speak to that comedian. I've never come across him again. I don't know if he maybe moved to Vancouver or he's in Ottawa. I'm sure I would recognize him if I saw him because he's about 6'8". In my 19-year-old memory, he had a bow tie, big glasses, and he was redheaded and very lanky. Like, he is somebody you definitely would not miss.
I get you. It sounds like somebody who's so obvious you may be able to Google that and find them.
You know what? I've never tried, but I think after this I will.
You know what? And if that person ever listens to this and they're like, is that how people see me? Big, goofy, tall, with red hair and a bow tie?
It's actually funny because he sounded a little bit like that. Like, is this how it... Nah. He was meant to be a comedian, whoever he is.
Well, in the image that you gave me, that voice is what had to come out, so...
It was completely accurate. Well done.
Okay, let me ask you this then. When would you say that you felt a comfort level in what you were pursuing, that this was going to be a real deal, I guess, that this wasn't just a once or twice night thing?
So recently. Like, so recently. Like, I've only been actively in the comedy game, as I would say, like, for the last 2 years. I had a false start. Well, when I was 19, I tried doing 3 comedy shows, and obviously they were horrible, and I was like, this isn't for me, and I quit for a couple of years, and then I got back into it somehow, and it was just as terrible as I remember it. I bombed at every open mic. No one laughed, not even my friends, who I dragged out to every single one of those shows. Big shout out to everyone who came back in the day when I really wasn't funny. But I kept that grind up, and I kept going to those mics, and I kept talking to people and networking and writing jokes, like constantly writing jokes. And then somewhere along the lines, it clicked, and I started getting laughs, and I started getting consistent laughs, and then I started producing shows, and I realized I was a really good producer. Still working on being a really good comedian, but I think I've earned my title as a pretty decent producer. And then I realized at that point, like, you can make money off of this, and you're only going to get better from where you are right now. So I think about that every day. Like, if I don't have a great set, or even if I do, I think, you know what, it's only going to go up from here. So.
Well, that's a great perspective. I put you ahead of most of the world who aren't even willing to throw themselves out there. So kudos to you for doing it and staying strong.
Well, thank you.
I got to ask, like, what does comedy mean to you?
Oh, man. Comedy honestly means everything to me. Like, anyone who knows me in my life knows I have like a top 3. You know, everybody, at least in their mind, whether they say it out loud or not, they have a top 3 most important to them, right? Most important thing in my life is my cat, Midnight. Yeah, I'm a crazy cat lady. But second is my health, and third is my career. And that's where the list kind of ends. Like comedy is my everything. Here's something that I say all the time. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. So for me, I've taken all the hardships of my life. I've taken even just a bad day, right? A shitty TTC ride, and I've changed it into something positive. So it's a negative moment in my life, And then when I make it into a joke, it's forever positive, not only to myself, but for other people too. It's going to make other people laugh, and then it'll make me feel good about it.
Great response. It makes me think of, I think it was Ricky Gervais in The Office. He said something about humor is where the mind goes to tickle itself. And when you talk about your turning shitty situations on a public bus into humor, it makes me ask, like, we're in a time now where people talk about political correctness or offending people. Do you think that as a comedian you have any responsibility to worry about what may offend people in your audience?
See, that's a tricky situation. And it's something that I discuss frequently with comedians and audience members alike. Personally, I feel like there is a line, and there's a line you shouldn't cross. But that being said, as long as it's well thought out and it's funny, I feel like a comedian can get away with almost anything. Now, example of that is, let's say, rape jokes. That's a serious subject. A lot of people are against rape jokes. But here's the thing. A lot of people are against, I'm going to say specifically men most of the time, not always, but most of the time will make a very crude rape joke, not having experienced it themselves, not having known anyone who has gone through that, versus, like, let's say a woman who's gone through that, who's taken that pain and made it into something that can be discussed, right? Because you take things that are hard to discuss and you turn them into a joke, and all of a sudden you have people talking and you make it a little less taboo.
Oh, I get what you mean, but I do want to throw out the fact that men are raped in prison much more frequently than women, and a lot of men can have the pain of rape just as much as women have.
And have those men in prison, and the men in prison being raped, are those the ones on stage?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, but more frequently I find that it's women. Like, although that being said, like, I do understand. It's just maybe if it's from your perspective, and it's when I was in Second City doing improv, there was a rule. There was one rule in Second City. If it was not of your ethnicity, you couldn't do an accent, right? Like, I am not a Jamaican person, so I could not do Jamaican accent, right? So it's like you have to be sensitive of other people, other people's cultures, other people's experiences, right? Whereas there's some comedians that it's kind of like some comedians can joke about things and others can't. Like, I won't joke about having testicular cancer because I've never had that and I will never have that. Just as I feel like if you are someone who's not, like, Chinese, you can't make fun of someone who is Chinese to an extent. It's a blurred line in comedy. It really is. Like, some comedians can get away with almost anything while others are prosecuted for that.
Especially in this country, Canada, we've had a few comedians. I think Mike Ward is the most recent one for telling a crude joke. He's facing a $35,000 fine or 5 months in prison if he doesn't pay up. So
yeah, it is really big PC culture right now, which, to be honest with you, like, I am not a huge fan of. Like, I always try to treat people kindly in my life. Everyday situations, even on stage, like the stuff that I say, I try not to offend anyone, but I have had people come up to me after my shows during my sets saying they didn't like what they heard. But the end of the game is not everyone's going to be happy with everything you say.
Well, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that there's profanity in the discussion. It's hard to get to the actual root of everything we're discussing in a few minutes here, but it makes me think of a Chris Rock saying where he said, make fun of what they do, not who they are.
Yeah.
And that's very important. Laugh at a person for what they've done, not who they are. And
exactly.
That's profound to me, and I respect that in a comedian. I do very much dislike the point we're in today where people think that they can be offended by a joke and therefore the person shouldn't have told the joke. I think that that's not right, because for you, for instance, when you talk about your own experiences and you're trying to turn, I personally, I have a joke where I talk about rape, okay, and when I talk about pedophilia and rape, and what I say to the person is, when I went to a behavioral school where we were, 5 kids in the school with a bunch of elementary school. So we were all 17, 18, they were all grade 1 to 5. So during their recess, we would be out at the side of the building smoking, and these kids didn't know who we were. And one day, 2 of them came over and asked, like, "Are you guys rapists?" And I went, no, kid, it's pronounced pedophile. And now, that's a joke. You know,
Yeah.
when I first ever told it, I had a guy sit behind me and went, that's fucking disgusting, and got up and walked away from me. And I thought, that's me turning an actual experience in my life into something I'm trying to make humorous. And you're telling me I shouldn't even do that. I should bite into the lemons of life. And that's what bothers me.
I mean, there's obvious jokes, whereas like some comedians are saying like you should go kill yourself or this because of the way you look or that or whatever, which, you know, nobody really finds funny. Maybe one or two people do. But like the joke that you just said, like, it's exactly that. You're taking an experience, you're discussing about it, and it is funny. I laughed. Like, it's something that I would absolutely say. And you know what? I've had people get up and walk out of my show as well. Right? I think I was telling a dick joke or something, which for the record, I don't have, but I have seen, so I feel like I could talk about it.
Yes. So are you there?
Oh, hey.
Yeah, go on. You were talking about your dick joke.
Yeah, no, it was actually in the summer. Super funny. I can't even remember what I said. I think it was off the top of my head. But I had these two guys. They're elderly gentlemen. And they came specifically for my show. They had heard of me. They'd seen me on stage before. They thought it was funny. They came back. I was telling a new set of jokes. Everyone in the audience, probably about 20-somethings, just very, very diverse. Everyone just died with it also. Like, they loved the joke, but these two guys got up and left because of it. Well, so you're not going to please everyone.
Exactly. But, and then here's the thing. You don't stop telling the joke because two guys got offended one night.
No.
Right?
I wouldn't have any jokes at all. No comedian would.
And that's the tough thing. I say, as much as your job is hard as it is to throw yourself out there, it's making it that much more difficult now. And it's not like the job is easy to begin with, especially making a lucrative career out of it. So I have a strong empathy and compassion to what comedians are facing right now, in fear of offending just when they're trying to express their perspective of things, you know?
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. And it's a subject that I think we'll never stop discussing. There's never going to be a final point to it. There's never going to be a conclusion. People are always going to feel that way. People are always going to debate whether it should be said, if there should be rules.
Well, I think rules is at the point where we lose comedy. Like, honestly, when you said the Second City thing, I can respect them as an institution putting that into play, but I don't like it as an actor or a comedian when I'm trying to role play. Right? And let me ask you about that. If I read correctly, you do some acting as well. Is that right?
Yes, I am. I did acting before I did comedy, actually.
And where would we actually see some of your stuff, or is it just...
You know what's fun? I mostly do music videos. They like me because I can cry on cue. So I get those roles quite a bit. I used to get the girl next door quite often when I had really long hair and I was younger. I'm in a couple commercials. People often will see me pop up on LinkedIn ads or YouTube ads, and they'll message me being like, "Is this you?" But I haven't been in anything like notable yet. I am aiming one day for like a Marvel movie. I would love to be a villain. That's my dream. You know?
Sure. It's the first thing I thought of when I saw a picture of you was Marvel villain.
Yeah. Of course, Marvel villain. And also like I was wearing a shirt that said, "I am a Marvel villain," so that might have helped.
That it totally did. But no, you know what? I got a picture of you up right here. It's your profile photo on Facebook, I believe, and you've got a look like you're up to something mischievous.
Definitely, yeah. That's why I'm Bad Allie on the gram.
Okay, let me ask you. I just got a couple more questions here. If we were to create a Kings of Comedy today, okay, we're going to create a Mount Rushmore and try and pay tribute to the greatest comedians of history. Which four faces do you think belong on our comedy Mount Rushmore?
Oof, that is a tough one. Comedy has transformed throughout the ages, like Charlie Chaplin, you know, like, did I fuck up his name?
No. Charles Chaplin. Here's the thing: Hitler fucked up his mustache. I'll say that.
Yeah, he did. It could have been a style. Could have been very stylish. Now guys are like, I feel like I could bring it back. I'm like, I feel like you can't.
I think you could bring it back. I think you'd look good with the Chaplin. I
feel like I would rock it personally, but you know, I can only really. I don't know who, because no matter who I say, everyone in this day and age, somebody's going to be like, well, you should have had this guy on the Mount Rushmore of comedy.
But it's not about them, Allie. It's about you. It's about your Mount Rushmore. So, and
I
promise
can only
not
really
to-
talk about the people who influenced me.
Let's hear it.
And I'm, again, really new to comedy, so they're pretty recent faces. Like, one of them being Eddie Izzard.
Oh, of course.
Eddie Izzard is one of my fucking favorite comedians of all time. He's one of the first comedians I saw online, actually, when YouTube was a thing. He was on there. I was checking out all his comedy, and I would watch it over and over and over and over and over again. And he did this one bit about a monkey, a chair, and a cat in a forest, and it was all in French. Like, I didn't speak French, but even I understood, and I thought, wow, that's talent, you know? And the fact that he was just so brave and he was completely himself on stage, but also he transformed over the years, like turned into a completely different person, which is, I kind of think what comedy is. Like, you're constantly evolving and changing. Like, I love him to death. Another person who was really big for me was Liza Schwarzinger. She is completely hilarious. One of the first female comics that I really noticed, and she has like 4 or 5 Netflix specials now. She's just killing the game, and she just turned 30. Another one, not exactly a comic, I'm sure she has done stand-up comedy, but I am in love with Rebel Wilson. She is a bigger girl, and she used that to her advantage. She was in Hollywood, which was just crawling with people who were quote-unquote like perfect, you know, just like perfect body and face, and you know, every role needs to be filled in Hollywood. They casted her as the fat girl. She was kind of funny. They didn't realize how funny what she was. Like in Pitch Perfect, she pretty much improvised all of her lines. She read the script and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna do my own thing, and she made the movie. I don't care what anyone else says. Oh, and then I do have to, my God, Trevor Noah is amazing too. The battles he's fought and where he's gotten to. But I have to say, and I will be so honest, my all-time favorite comedian that has to be on that Mount Rushmore, whatever we're calling it, is definitely Jim Jeffries.
That's awesome. Here's the thing. Mount Rushmore has 4 faces. Yours has 6. And
well, you know what? It's 2020. I'm Allie motherfucking Banks, and I'm going to do what I like.
there it is. She can do what she likes. Before we cut off, I got to ask, where can people see you? I'm going to be posting this in a day or two, so it is fresh. Where can people see you if they want to see you?
Well, I definitely am super active on Instagram. I am a millennial after all. So that is Bad Allie on the gram. So that's BADALLIE. Of course, you can always add me on Facebook. I love having new friends. It's just Allie Banks on Facebook. It's like allies except without the S. That's what I like to tell people at Starbucks to confuse them.
Well, and you know what? I'll put links down below. So if people want to follow Allie, you can just look down below, click the links, and check this girl out live. Aren't you hosting
Yeah, so I actually run 6 shows throughout the GTA currently. But I'll tell you only about a couple of them. I have a weekly. It's at Tonight Bar, which is 1704 Queen Street West. It's a great little spot. It's actually a live happenings bar. So every night there's something different, but Tuesdays are reserved for comedy, specifically a Queen West comedy show. So I'm there from 8 to 10 every single Tuesday. You can check it out. It is a free show, drink specials all night long. I also, at the same venue, host 2 other shows. One is Comedy Smackdown, which is a comedy competition. It's a really fun format that usually happens an odd Friday or Saturday of the month. And then I have a brand new show coming out next month. Actually, it's at the same venue. It's called Elephant in the Room, where comedians will draw a topic out of the hat and they'll have to riff off of it. It really tests their skills, and it's a lot of audience involvement. Again, it's a completely free show. All of them that I mentioned are totally free. Anyone who wants to come by and say hi, I'd be more than happy to chat.
Wicked. Well, hey, I want to talk to you for a few more minutes, so can you just stay on the phone? I'm going to sign off to the listeners, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. As always, I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy chatting. This was my first go with a comedian/actress, and I hope it went all right for you guys and her. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Peace out.